Hey, how's it going? I'm Alex, and I'm the developer behind HyperTrend Indicator. In this video, I'm going to give you a full walkthrough of the indicator, and by the end of this presentation, you will understand how it works and how it can be useful when integrated in your price reading and trading process. Now, HyperTrend is a paid indicator. It is available only through the cTrader store, and you'll find the indicator link in the video description. If you'd like to try HyperTrend before purchasing it, a trial version is available. The trial gives you access to all the features included in the paid version and can be used on any symbol. This way you can see if it fits your trading style. However, there are a few limitations. A trial watermark is displayed on the chart. The indicator is restricted to the 1-hour time frame, and the trial expires after 2 weeks. Let's begin with the presentation. Adding it on the chart and the basic read. I'm in cTrader. I have a gold chart up, and I've got my indicators button right here at the top. I'll open indicators, and I will type HyperTrend. If you downloaded the trial, you will see HyperTrend trial. When it's attached to a chart, the watermark will be visible and the indicator will work only on 1-hour time frame. Okay, let's continue and explore the full version. Open the indicators again. Type HyperTrend. Click on the indicator name and add it to the chart. The basic read is as simple as it gets. When the line is green, the trend is up and the line trails below the price. When the line is red, the trend is down and the line rides above the price. That's the whole interpretation of it at the surface level. You can also notice there is a second line sitting just inside the trend. That's the entry zone, which is a reference for joining a trend on a pullback instead of chasing it. And over here at the bottom of chart window is a small control panel. We'll dig into those later. Looking at the most recent price action, both the downtrend and uptrend runs delivered strong, clean signals. The red lines held firm across a prolonged decline, guiding price steadily lower. And in the uptrend that followed, the directional bias stayed intact even through a brief dip below the trend line during the pullback. This is where HyperTrend's resilience becomes a real edge. Rather than flipping prematurely, the uptrend held its ground, giving traders the confidence to enter on the retracement and manage their exit with clarity, either on a reversal back through the trend level or when the trend fully rotated to the downside. The same behavior mirrors across downtrends as well. This isn't a one-off scenario. It's simply one of the indicator's core strengths, consistently working in the trader's favor. One thing I want to mention before we continue is that this is an indicator, not a C-bot. It doesn't place or manage trades for you. Instead, it provides trend direction, signal markers, and risk-reward zones that you can use to make your own trading decisions. How it actually works. A quick summary for how it works. You pick a price source, smooth it with Heikin-Ashi and Kalman filter, run it through the efficient smoothing to get a clean center line, wrap it in ATR bands, and then use the supertrend logic which gives the trend direction. Denoised and smooth data for a clean trend output. That's the design. You can read more about how it works on the product page description, where you will also find the references about the efficient smoothing methods. The settings menu. Now that you've got a feel for how it works, let's open the settings, because everything I just described maps to a setting in here. At the top, you've got general settings, things like whether you want it to update intrabar or only on a confirmed, closed bar. With intrabar update enabled, the indicator will process the developing bar, and when this option is off, the indicator will process only confirmed bars, so the index bar will be excluded. Both options will provide deterministic readings, meaning that the indicator will not repaint, and you will get the same output whether you are backtesting or using it on live charts. In general settings is also where you will find the alerts and pop-up settings, but we'll cover those at the end. Then, there's the source pipeline group, and this is exactly the Heikin-Ashi and Kalman filter toggles I just talked about. 2 switches, both on by default because it will help in providing a better output. You can test on your own different combinations and find the best setup based on your needs. With Heikin-Ashi enabled, the indicator will read your chart as Heikin-Ashi, which is a smooth, synthetic method that average information across bars, so a lot of the little back and forth noise gets absorbed before it ever reaches the trend logic. Kalman filter, it's a bit more advanced, and it is a method that estimates the true underlying price from noisy data. Under trend and source, you'll find trend length, which sets the efficient moving average, or how responsive the trend is. You can watch how the output is changing as I switch between a few different values for the trend length. Shorter being faster and longer being smoother, and also the price source, with a lot of options to choose. Then volatility, your ATR length, and your ATR multiplier. That multiplier is also important. Here you will also find the option to set the entry zone distance used directly for pullback entry signals. You can set this zone at half, a quarter, or a sixth of the distance from the main trend trailing levels. I want to spend a minute on the ATR multiplier, because honestly, this is the dial you'll touch the most, and getting a feel for it is the difference between this tool working in your advantage or against you. Remember, the multiplier scales the bands around the center line. So watch what happens conceptually as I change it. If I push it up, say to 10, the bands get wider and the trend doesn't end as quickly. It's now looking for bigger, more meaningful moves. It filters out a lot of noise, and it's effectively willing to sit through a larger pullback while still calling the trend intact. A sharp dip that would have flipped a tighter setting? At a multiplier of 5, it just rides right through it and stays in the trend. Now if I bring it down, say to 2, it gets tighter and a lot more decisive. You'll see it flip more often. It's pickier, it reacts faster, and it behaves almost like a tighter stop. More responsive, but choppier. So the way to think about this is in terms of your own risk tolerance and your time frame. If you're a swing trader, a wider multiplier keeps you in the move and doesn't shake you out on every wiggle. If you're a day trader or scalper zoomed into a faster chart and you want quick, tight reads, a smaller multiplier is going to suit you better. There's no single right answer. It's about how much room you want to give a trend before you call it dead. Spend a bit of time here on your own symbol and time frame, and you'll dial it in. Signals, markers, and the bar coloring modes. All right, so HyperTrend gives you 3 types of signals, and each one can be toggled on or off independently, so you only see those you want to trade. The first is the switch. That's the trend, green to red or red to green. If you trade nothing else, you trade the switch. You take the new direction on the flip, and you use the trailing line as your line in the sand. Honestly, the best way is to consider this signal as a potential trade setup and not act immediately when it triggers, because the price can react opposite to the trend direction before moving in its favor. The second is the entry cross signal, and this one's for entry pullbacks. When you're already in an established trend and price pulls back into that entry zone level and then reclaims it, you get a marker. It's a way to join a trend at better value instead of chasing the extreme or jumping in a trade based on the switch. The third is the trend cross signal. That's price doing a round trip back across the trend trailing line itself, which you can use for adding to a position or re-entering. Signal markers have their own color settings, if you want to better differentiate those from colored bars, and you can also adjust the marker's size. Here you've got all your bar color settings: bull color, bear color, a neutral color, transparency, the whole thing. Just like with the trend levels, you can customize every bit of how the bars are colored to match your preferred visual style. There are actually a few different coloring modes in here that don't just change how it looks, they change when you get signals. This is another feature I'm genuinely proud of, because it's not just cosmetic, it can change how early you get warned about a change in trend. In regular mode, every bar is just colored by the current trend, and the switch only fires on the actual flip. Clean and simple. In enhanced one, when price pushes against the trend and breaches the trailing line, those bars immediately get painted the opposite color. In practice, that can flag a possible reversal a couple of bars before the official switch, an early heads up. The trade-off is that in choppy, ranging conditions, it can produce false signals because not every one of those pushes turns into a real reversal. So enhance 2 is my answer to that. Instead of immediately flipping the color when price breaches the line, the bar turns neutral, a separate pause color, and it doesn't give up the trend until the move actually confirms. That keeps the early visual warning from mode 1, but filters out a lot of the false alarms that chop creates. And in this mode, you get one extra marker, an X, that prints on the first bar of that neutral stretch. Think of it as a warning that trend might be losing steam, right when the hesitation starts, not after the fact. The risk and reward levels. When you turn these on, every signal bar will plot 3 lines on the chart: an entry line, a stop-loss line, and a take-profit line. The entry sits at the signal bar's midpoint. The stop and the target are placed a fixed number of pips away, and they're direction aware. You set those risk and reward distances to match the symbol's volatility at that time you are trading. A couple of practical things. These lines are a snapshot at the signal. They extend forward a preset number of bars and then stop. They're not a moving trail. And you can control how many of them stay on your chart at once with a max risk levels setting. Set it to 1, and you'll only ever see the current setup, which keeps things tidy. Every line has its own color and style too. The whole point of this is that you can see your risk and reward framed on the chart before you commit to anything. Pair that with a relevant position sizing, and it becomes genuinely useful. So remember, the main idea is that we will trade in the direction of a prevailing trend. We want to identify potential trends as early as possible. Wait for price to retrace near the pullback entry zone. Enter positions with minimal initial exposure. Hold those positions and ride the move as much as possible without getting stopped out during the move. The interactive panel and alerts. Now, let me come back to the panel, because this is the thing that makes HyperTrend fast to actually work with day to day. Everything you'd normally have to double-click into the settings for, you can do right here on the chart. There's a button to toggle your alerts. There's one to switch your bar coloring between all bars and signal bars only, so you can declutter in a click. Another button to show or hide the trend line and the entry zone together. And another to show or hide all the risk levels. Right near this one, there's an expand button. I'll click it. It opens up the stop and target controls right in line. I can type a new stop distance. Type a new target. Click the little refresh button, and the levels on the chart immediately reposition to the new distances, right at your fingertips anytime you need such changes. You can also position the panel anywhere you'd like, or hide it entirely if you don't want it. Sound alerts and pop-ups. When a signal fires, HyperTrend can play a sound, and you get to pick which sound from the platform's built-in presets, and it'll show you a pop-up with the essentials: the symbol, the time frame, which signal it was, the direction, and the price. The alerts follow the same toggles as the markers, so you only get pinged for the signal types you've actually turned on. Wrapping up. So that's HyperTrend, start to finish, what it shows you, how it's actually built with the Heikin-Ashi and Kalman pre-processing and the advanced smoothing under the hood, how to set it up, how the signals and coloring modes work, the on-chart risk levels, and the live control panel. I built HyperTrend to be non-intrusive and to be light. It's optimized specifically for cTrader. It loads fast, it's easy on your CPU, and it stays smooth even if you've got multiple instances of it running across a bunch of charts at once. That mattered to me, because a tool you keep on all day shouldn't get in your way when you are making trading decisions. A final note worth keeping in mind: this is, at its core, just a tool, and while it is a superior one, it can still produce false signals, and trading mechanically every signal without context simply will not work. A solid understanding of price action, patience for proper setups, and diligent money management are still required. Only within that framework does HyperTrend become a genuinely powerful tool. It reaches its full potential when the market is actively moving. In dead, off-hours conditions, it will lose some of its edge, as any tool does. It works on any symbol and any time frame. It's built to be easy to set up and fine-tune whether you're a beginner or experienced trader, and if you want, you can read the complete presentation on the product page. If you found this helpful, check the link in the video description to visit the cTrader store. From there, you can purchase the product directly or download the available trial version. You can also browse the other tools I've made publicly available. And if you have any questions or need help with templates and setup, the discussion tab on the product page is the best place to engage directly. You're also welcome to reach out through the contact available. I'm always happy to help. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.